Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Ella. On my channel we talk about missing people, murders now, and creepy things. So if you guys are new here, please subscribe and leave a like and turn on the post notifications so you can see every time I post a video. And yeah, let's just get right into the video. So today we're going to be talking about Paige Doherty, who was a 15-year-old girl and who was unfortunately murdered on her way to work. Paige Doherty was born on April 17th, 2000. She lived with her mom, Pamela Monroe, and her stepdad, Andy Monroe. She had a younger sister and two brothers, and they were just one of those families that like looked perfect on the outside. She had a really good relationship with all of her family members, but her mom was like her best friend. Paige was only 4'8", and she was the typical teenager. She was really into things like makeup and just, you know, she did everything that normal teenagers do. She was described by her family as being really loving and kind and overall just like a really sweet, good person. On March 18th, 2016 in Clydebank, Scotland, Paige spent the night at her friend's house. So the next morning on March 19th, she left her friend's house and she went to work. She had a hairdressing job that was about 20 minutes away, and she usually went to a lot of places herself. She took the bus, so it wasn't like a new thing that she was going right from her friend's house to work. It was like she had done this frequently and she knew what she was doing. So later that day, her boyfriend Dylan, he said he hadn't received any texts or anything from her all day. He hadn't heard from her at all. And this was something that was really weird because Paige was someone who was always on her phone. Her friends said she was always on social media. It was weird for her to not be responding. He also thought it was weird because usually at some point during the day she texted him good morning and she had not done that. So he was really worried and he decided to call Paige's work. When he called her work, her boss said she had never showed up that morning. Now he was really concerned because something was wrong, so he called Paige's mom, Pamela. Pamela said she hadn't heard from her either, and no one really knew where Paige was, and no one had heard from her in a day. Her boyfriend Dylan also checked all of her social media accounts and saw that she hadn't been active or posted anything since the night before. And again, that was something that was really weird for her because she was always on her phone. This led them to believe that something was seriously wrong. So at this point, they called the police. The police came to Paige's house to speak to her mom and her stepdad, and at this point they really didn't know if she had just run away or if she just wasn't texting anyone back. So they reached out to all their friends and family, and they called everyone they knew basically to ask if they had seen Paige or heard from Paige, and no one had heard from her. By that evening, Paige still had not returned home, so a police and volunteer search team went out to search for her. And by Sunday, remember, she had went to her friend's house on Friday and was supposed to be at work on Saturday. So by Sunday night, she hadn't come home. Everyone was really worried. Everyone knew something bad had happened to Paige. So the police really didn't think she had run away, but they still had to consider it as a possibility. And this is because she had a good school life. She had a good home life. Everyone said she seemed really happy and like she had a lot of good things going for her. So they didn't really think she would have a motive or a reason to run away, but there could always be something she wasn't telling anyone, and there could always be hidden issues. So they couldn't rule it out as a possibility altogether, but they pretty much thought it was really unlikely. Also, usually when kids, especially teenagers, run away, they usually are texting at least one of their friends. They usually leave some kind of clue behind that they had run away, and they won't just drop everything and leave. But she hadn't contacted anyone in over 2 days, especially since she was someone who was really on her phone a lot. This was really weird, and the police really didn't think she had run away. Her family started a Facebook page called Help Find Paige, and they just posted pictures of her, information about her, anything that would help anyone if they saw her, and report it back to the police. There were also posters made that were put all over her town in hope of someone seeing something, but nothing ever came up. So the police decided to follow the route that Paige took the day she disappeared, which was from her friend's house to her job. They knew she was at her friend's house and they know she was healthy and alive when she left there, but before she got to her work, something happened. So between these two places, there had to be some kind of evidence to show what happened to Paige. There was a group of 5 shops in between her friend's house and her work that she frequently stopped at for like lunch before work. The store owners were pretty familiar with her there. So the police went and they interviewed all of the store owners, and the first one said he had actually seen Paige that day. He said he saw her walking past his shop to the deli. He said he waved at her, she waved back, and she just continued on her way. They didn't talk at all or anything. The police asked all of the shop owners if they had any security footage, and of course they did, but it needed to take a little time for the footage to process, so the police couldn't really look at it right away. Before the police had a chance to analyze and look at the security footage, her body showed up. A body was found along Glasgow's Great Western Road 2 days after Paige disappeared on March 21st, 2016. The location where the body was found was just half a mile away from the shops. There were 3 girls missing from this area at the time, and one of them was blonde. It was pretty much concluded that it wasn't her because this girl had brown hair, and the other girl who was missing actually showed up that night. The next morning, which was Tuesday, Paige's mother went to identify her, and it was Paige. She had been stabbed in the head and the neck 150 times. The number is really like, there's not a clear number on the internet. Some sources say like over 200, some say 61, but the overall, like on most websites, it says around 100 to 150, so that's what I'm going to say in this video. But she was stabbed a lot of times, and the cause of death was blood loss because of stab wounds. The police say there were 3 weapons used in this case, one of which was a knife, scissors, and a screwdriver. This probably wasn't like a planned thing. This was like whoever killed her just grabbed something next to them and started stabbing her. A few days later, the first real suspect or person to look at came up. A picture of a teenage boy holding a bloody knife went viral on social media in Paige's town, and him and his friend were claiming that they were the ones who killed her. The police obviously looked into this, and they realized there was still blood on the knife 4 days later. It probably wasn't actually used in killing Paige. I don't know exactly how that science works, but I guess if it's 4 days later, there's not going to be that much like remains left over. So the police decided they're just like 2 boys looking for attention. I don't know if they faced further like consequences for that. They should have, but yeah, they didn't kill Paige. So the police decided to go interview a man named John Leatham, who was the owner of the deli that Paige was seen going to that day. John claimed he didn't know who Paige was, and he claimed that he had never spoken to her before. But it was weird because most of the other shop owners recognized her, and they said pretty much the same people came there every day, so he should have known who she was. After being questioned for a few hours, John actually changed his story. He said he had seen Paige and she had come into the deli, bought something, and then went to get her bus to go to work. He was claiming that on her way out of the deli to the bus stop, something must have happened. That's why she never made it to work that day. He said when she was in the deli, she was acting normal and that he didn't really think anything was wrong. And this was the last known sighting of Paige at the time. The police started to believe that from this deli to the bus stop was where they needed to be looking, but there was no way to know if she really ever would have gotten on that bus since there was no cameras or anything. This made it a lot harder to see what comes next for her case. Shortly after this, the security footage was finally processed and ready for the police to look at. On the security footage, they see Paige walk into the deli at 8:21 a.m., but in the footage, she never leaves the deli. So obviously, this brought up a lot of questions. They brought John Leatham back in for more questioning because it was very suspicious that he would have lied about how long Paige was in the deli. The security footage they had, it wasn't security of the whole day, it was just the morning. So they thought maybe she was in there for a few hours talking to him or doing something. So they actually asked for the longer security footage, and they were gonna see if Paige actually ever did come out of that deli, but that had to process again, so they had to just go off of talking to witnesses and people there. They actually asked John for security footage of inside of his deli, and John gave it over willingly to the police. But when they watched it, it seemed like a lot of footage had been cut out. In the footage that John gave to the police, there was actually no footage of Paige. Paige was never in the deli in his footage, so they thought he just cut a chunk of time out of his footage from when she was in the deli. So this pretty much made John like the lead suspect, because why are you changing security footage when there was a murder here? The police were really suspicious. The police were almost certain that Paige was murdered inside this deli, and they were waiting for the longer footage to process, and all they could do was just look at John and look for evidence proving that it was John. So finally, this other footage processes, this whole long process of waiting for footage, but it's finally ready, and they see a lot of weird things from John on this security footage. At 10 a.m., so around 2 hours after Paige should have been there, John runs out of his deli and into the shop next door. And he actually buys something there, but we don't know what it is yet, and he goes back to his deli and leaves it closed for a few hours. At 10:03 a.m., John comes back out of his deli, goes to his car, opens the trunk, and it seems like he's clearing a space for something. And then this is on unreleased footage. John takes this big bag and puts it in the back of his car, closes the trunk, and drives away. So after this, the police pretty much knew it was John. They just had to prove that it was Paige in this bag. On Thursday, March 24th, John Leatham was arrested for the suspicion of murdering Paige Doherty. John was 31 years old. He was married. He had 2 kids. It was weird. Like, this wasn't the average guy who you think would just go out and kill people, but he did. So his whole house was searched in hope of finding something more, but nothing really was. And actually, a few days before he was arrested, John was on the news as one of those people in those small towns where when something bad happens, they'll just be saying like how things like that don't happen in their town and how they would hate for that to happen to their kids. And he actually had an interview like this on the news. The other weird thing was that he actually seemed to be a big help to Paige's family after she was gone. Paige's family says he tried to help them a lot by giving them just like emotional support and stuff before he was arrested, and he actually asked Paige's mother, Pamela, to come over to his house to just talk about what he saw that day, I guess. And she actually now believes that he was trying to lure her into his house to kill her as well. But Pamela didn't go that day, obviously with those suspicions, and John was arrested the next day. At first, John stuck to his story even though the security footage showed him doing completely something different. So the next thing the police did was go to the shop owner next to John that he was seen running into in this footage, and they asked him what John had bought at this store. The owner said he had bought bags, like these big bags, like the ones he was seen putting into his car, antibacterial wipes, and bleach. So this pretty much confirmed it, that John killed Paige. On September 5th, 2016, John Leatham pled guilty to Paige Doherty's murder in court, and he actually had some very interesting reasoning for why he killed her. So his story was that Paige came into his deli and they were talking about maybe her getting a new job at his deli, so he said she could come to the back, fill out some paperwork. So that's what she did, and I don't know exactly what it was, but something about the information she wrote down he didn't like, and he said he couldn't hire her because of that reason. So John claimed that after he said he couldn't hire her, Paige said, "If you don't give me the job, I'm gonna make up sexual assault allegations against you." And John actually had a brother who was a registered sex offender. He knew how hard his life was because of this. He knew it was almost impossible to get a job. Just, it made people like afraid of you, as it should. And John didn't want this to happen to him. Somewhere in this crazy reasoning that he had, he grabbed a knife and started stabbing her in the neck. And he claims that he killed her out of fear of what she would do to him if he didn't give her a job. So I'm not really sure why he thought this was the best way to react, considering there were cameras on the inside of the deli, and that probably could have just proved that he didn't do anything to her. But he decided to kill her. Most people don't believe John's story. Paige's friends and family said that she loved her job at the hairdressers, and they wouldn't really see any reason for her to want a different job, especially since the career she wanted to go into was hairdressing. So she had a job that was setting her on that path exactly. So why would she want to quit that and go work at a deli? So because of this, no one really believes him, and also because of this, no one really knows why he killed Paige, because it's really unlikely his story actually happened. What Paige's mother actually thinks is that he did something to her and then was worried that she was going to tell people and so decided to kill her. I think that makes the most sense to me, because, you know, you don't just kill someone because they say they're gonna make an allegation against you. So before John's sentencing trials, there were some more rumors that came up in Paige's town. Of course, it's a small town, so there's gonna be rumors, and one of them was actually that Paige and John were in some kind of relationship or were having some kind of affair. There was also another rumor that she was actually pregnant with his child, but her autopsy proved that wrong. So those rumors were completely discredited. For the rumor and theory of them being in a relationship, it could be true, but it's really unlikely. Paige's friends and family really don't think so, and like to hide something like that from everyone completely would be really hard to do. Paige's phone was also searched thoroughly. There were no texts with him or calls with him, so it was pretty much really 100% discredited that they had any kind of relationship besides just being a customer and a deli owner. On October 12th, 2016, John Leatham was given life in prison with a minimum of 27 years, which was later changed to 23, and that is where he is today. Paige's mother set up a foundation called Paige's Promise, and it's an organization that teaches kids self-defense so that if this would ever happen to them, maybe they could defend themselves. It also supplies financial and emotional support to families who have lost their child to murder or something unexpected like that. She's also working on completing Paige's bucket list that she made before she died, so they're doing lots of cool things, just trying to keep her memory alive as much as they possibly can. In May of 2017, Paige's parents had a baby, and they named her after Paige. So yeah, they really keep her memory alive as much as they can. So that is it for the Paige Doherty case. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this case, please leave a like and subscribe so you can see more and turn on your post notifications. And if you guys want to see more like murder cases like this, let me know, because I've been doing like missing people cases that have been unsolved. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.